Complex owner Lance Kochan is suing his former tenant, 20-year-old photographer Trista Jeter, for an unpaid loan for breast implant surgery. Trista says the surgery was Lance's idea.
To the defendant for her to have breast augmentation surgery.
Correct.
And in addition, you paid some of her bills while she was recuperating.
Yes.
You want to be reimbursed for this loan. Ms. Jeter says that there was no loan. You did this because you were sort of infatuated with her, and there was no expectation that you would ever be repaid for the money that you gave her. So let's just cut to the chase. Are you a very rich man?
I do all right.
Yes,
Well-
he is definitely a rich man.
We'll get to you in a second.
Okay.
Do you give to charity? Don't look down. That's a very simple question. The words, if you're a rich man,
No.
you don't. You don't. So you're not a philanthropist.
No.
So there had to be a reason, sir, why you decided to loan money to somebody that you weren't related to for a surgical procedure that was not necessary. You know, she wasn't having a kidney replaced. Why don't you tell me why you did that?
Well, she was a tenant of mine for a while. And when she moved in, she cleaned the apartment up that she lived in. She cleaned it up very well, better than most of the people I hired to do that. So as time went on, as apartments came available, I would ask her if she wanted to do it. And she was making $200 an apartment, doing one a day. You know, at her age, making $1,000 a week, it was pretty good money. We live in Las Vegas, and women with big breasts get better jobs. It's a fact.
She doesn't need that if she's just doing house cleaning.
Correct, but she doesn't want to be a housekeeper forever.
I assume not from the outfit she chose to wear to court, that she doesn't want to be a house cleaner forever. You still don't answer my question, sir. My question was, why did you loan Miss Jeter, your tenant/house cleaner, money for breast surgery?
Because she came to me and asked for it. And I thought it would be a good loan because at the time she was making a lot of money for me.
Well, tell me about the time she came to you, sir, and asked you for the loan.
We were at an apartment.
Okay,
And she
you
basically
went-
said she got sick
Okay, and when was this?
early part of November of '03.
And you say to her, and she says to you, let me have it.
She says she doesn't like doing this anymore. She wants to get into something else, work in the casino. And if she had breast augmentation, it would help her get a good job. So at that time, she asked me for it.
What did she ask you?
To loan her the money to get breast augmentation.
And you said?
I don't know. And it took a while, you know, a little bit of persistence over the next couple of weeks, till finally I gave in, said, okay.
Did you ever say to her, why don't you just put this on your credit card since you're making this kind of good money? You can pay off your credit card. Bada bing, bada boom.
'Cause she,
2 months.
She didn't have a credit card.
Well, she could pay off the doctor.
Doctor wouldn't finance her.
How do you know that?
Because she went to the doctor and the doctor said he wouldn't.
How do you know that?
She told me.
So then you asked her that question. Is that what you're telling me, Mr.
I pretty
Coachman?
much assumed that.
No.
There was no way she
Don't
could do
listen
that.
to me. Don't assume anything. When I ask you a question, give me an answer. Not a makeup. Not a what you suppose.
Okay, what was the question one more time?
The question was, why couldn't she finance the surgery by paying off the doctor? And you said to me, because the doctor wouldn't accept payments. And I said, how do you know that? And you said, well, I just pretty much surmised.
Well,
So the answer is, I don't know.
It's my credit.
I didn't speak to you.
Okay.
You see, what I'm trying to figure out, Mr. Kochan, is if you're going to be honest with me, sir. You left out the fact that you and Miss Jeter dated a few times, according to what I read here. Is that right?
correct.
Well, why didn't you put that in? You made it appear as if this was a strictly business relationship, sir.
We went out a couple times. That wasn't a relationship.
How many times is a couple of times?
3, couple dinners, a movie.
Okay. And at the time that you loaned her the money, when was the time immediately prior to that that you had been out on a date with her?
It was after that.
So after you loaned her the money, you went out on several dates.
3 dates.
Now, after December, did you try to see her again? Did you try to date again?
No, we just didn't really get along. We were just different people.
Is that right?
Definitely.
Did you ask her out again?
No.
Any particular reason for that?
We just didn't seem to get along. We didn't click.
Now, in January, I assume Miss Jeter went back to work. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
How much money did she give you in January?
On January 12th, she cleaned an apartment for me, which I credited her $200.
Is that right, Miss Jeter?
Yes.
Okay. When's next, Mr. Coachman?
Then on January 16th, which I assume she got paid on the 15th from her job at the time, she gave me $100. Then on February 1st, she gave me another $100. And then on February 14th, she gave me another $100. So she paid me back a total of $500.
Out of how much?
Out of a total of $5,050.
I'll hear you.
He pretty much put it in my head that he wanted to do that for me, okay? He gave me the idea since
How did he put that in your head?
because I told him that what I wanted to do for a job, okay, and that was cocktail in Las Vegas. I've already been offered a job in Las Vegas to do that. And it's just easier to get a job having this operation done when I had nothing before. And so he said, well, yeah, you know, his ex-girlfriend had it done, and so he told me that that'd be a good idea. So he made me feel like it was okay to ask him to do that. Okay, as far as paying him back goes, nothing was supposed to come out of my pocket cash-wise. I was supposed to just clean his apartments out, but none came available after my operation was done. I was healed and everything. So I had to get a new job and just to pay my bills off, and I wanted to move because it's a bad area.
Yeah, but if I don't have a part...
Just a second.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Chen says former tenant Trista Jeter owes for a loan to have breast implant surgery.
What you're saying to me was it was a loan.
Okay.
And you were supposed to pay him back. Stop twisting your head. Can you keep your head still, please? You look like
It just
you're
keeps
back
getting
of
in
the
my
car.
face. Sorry.
What you're telling me is that what you were supposed to do is pay him back in kind by cleaning the apartments for which you were paid $200 an apartment, and you were going to pay him back from that, but that after January, apartments didn't become available. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But you also, in the same breath, said to me that you wanted to get away from that area because it's a bad area. So was it your intention to go back to the complex to do cleaning to pay off this loan?
Yeah, that was before I had gotten my job already, that I had to have to pay the bills to pay to get out of that place.
But that new job, I assume, didn't leave you the same kind of free time as your previous work, if any, so that there was no time for you, even if apartments became available, to clean the apartments. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Get her a copy of my book.
He didn't
Going to
his
get
part
her
of
a
the
copy
job
of the
as far as
book.
giving me work, okay? No apartments were available, so I had to get a job to where I could have money, and so I could pay my bills, and he didn't live up to his part of the bargain. So
I got it. I just laid it out. Sir, did you ever hear the story, there's no fool like an old fool? Right? Right. You're not so old, but you're pretty foolish. Better give your money to charity. Do you understand? There are all kinds of worthwhile charities around. The breast augmentation surgery doesn't fall under that category. Do I make myself clear? All right. She owes you $4,550. She doesn't dispute the amount, only that it was a loan. It was a loan. Pay it back. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I loaned her money and she didn't pay it back. So now we came to court and it's solved, and hopefully I'll get paid back now.
how do you live without money, right? And I had to pay bills, and he's interfering with that. So
No, we dated a few times and it didn't work out, and that was the end of it. We ended it.
I'm just glad it's over with, and I'll definitely never get myself in this situation again.
I guess justice prevailed. I won.
Worker Christine Barros is suing her former friend, research supervisor Nicole Duquette, for the unauthorized use of a cash card. Nicole is countersuing for harassment.
Off her friend.
Which friend?
That would be Franklin.
It'll be you. Okay.
Dropped him off, and she kept asking me if there was anything I needed to do before I went home. And I said, well, I do have to stop at the bank and get the money to pay my phone bill. At a certain point, she allowed
Why didn't you take out that money when you went earlier that day?
Because I have a tendency to take money and spend it when I don't need to. So I only take the money out when needed. And the money that I had taken on that morning, I had spent the majority of it, so I didn't have enough to cover for my phone bill.
Okay, so you were going back to the bank.
Yep, we were headed back to the bank.
And Ms. Duquette took you back to the bank.
Actually, I was driving her car. She wasn't feeling very well. She allowed me to drive. No, I don't
you
have
were
a license.
driving, you drove back to your bank.
Yes. When I proceeded to take off my seat.
Claiming Dennis stole her belongings.
Ms. Donner, the defendant was a former friend of yours. And
Yes, she was.
You lived together for a while.
No, I lived with her mother. She did not live at the house.
You lived her mother's house.
Correct.
She didn't live there ever?
No, she lived it with her boyfriend.
According to your complaint, you made a loan to her.
Correct.
And she did not pay you back.
Correct.
Ms. Fexer, according to your answer, There was never a loan. The plaintiff paid some bills for you because she was a friend and you had fallen on hard times. And you claim that she took some of your property when she moved out of your mother's house.
Right.
And you are counterclaiming for several $1,000s. Ms. Donor says that the only thing she took was that piece of luggage, I assume. She's more than willing to give that back to you. When was this loan made, Ms. Donor?
It started in August of 2002 up until June of 2003.
Okay, let's start with the first loan. What amount and what for?
When I moved out there in the house with her mom, she asked me
Were you
if I
paying
could...
her mother rent?
Yes, I was. She asked me if I could help her out by paying some credit card bills because she didn't have any money. She wasn't working a steady job. She's a bartender, and it wasn't real steady for her.
How long do you know her?
A little over a year.
So you were good enough friends for her to come and ask you for money?
Yes.
And you felt close enough to her to give her the money?
Yes, I did.
How much did you give her in August of 2002?
August, it was only $200, ma'am. She flew to Chicago to help me pack my house out of Chicago.
So then why should she owe you $200?
She agreed to pay for her flight. I paid for everything else on the drive back, the gas, the food, the hotels.
Really? So let's start with that one.
I tried to pay for my own ticket to help her move, which is a little ridiculous.
Well, that sounds ridiculous to me.
It really is. And she obviously charged me for it later.
No, it's ridiculous to me. It doesn't sound normal. If somebody's coming to help you pack and help you drive back, they don't pay for their own ticket. What's next?
Payments I made to her credit card companies on her behalf at her request.
When?
In September, October, November, December, January, February, April, and then June.
And what was the total amount of those?
A little over $2,200 and something dollars.
You made those payments directly to the credit
Directly
card?
to the credit card company.
Tell me why.
Because she agreed to pay me back once she got a regular job again.
Well, when did you go back to work?
I was out of work about 3 months.
When did she go back to work?
About 3 or 4 months later at the Home Depot.
So did she go back to work in December?
She was working in December, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, was she working in November?
No.
Okay, so she went back to work in December. When was the last time you paid her credit card?
In May of 2003.
How much did she pay you between December 2002 and May of 2003?
$170.
Well, why is it, madam, that you continued to make payments for her when she was working in Home Depot in December? Your agreement was that she would pay you back when she got a steady job. She got a steady job, and you continued to pay her credit cards. Why, Miss Donor?
Because she was not making enough money to afford her bills at the house as well as her own credit cards.
Well, but I don't understand. What kind of relationship did you enjoy with this defendant that would suggest to me that it's logical that you should pay her bills?
We were very close friends. She was like a sister to me. I would do practically anything for her that she asked me.
Well, then what happened, Miss Donor?
Well, we used to do a lot of drugs, and when I quit using, that's when our friendship basically dissolved, and I decided to move down a different road than she did. The rest of them, when we would be out, if she asked me, we'd be at the Target or something, she'd ask me for like some personal hygiene products or some
Not interested in
stuff
that.
for
That's not
that.
what courts are set up to do. I'm not going through a laundry list of feminine products.
Right,
that you-
exactly.
that you
I
bought for her
understand.
at Target.
I
You
understand.
understand that, Miss Donor. You have receipts that you paid $2,200 and some odd dollars in credit card bills.
Correct.
for
I have the
defendant.
canceled checks.
For the defendant, and she doesn't deny that. Is that right?
That's true, yes.
Okay. And you paid her back, according to you, $500.
Yes. I was making payments to her right before she moved out of my mother's house. I had a good job, was making payments, because she said, don't worry about the payments. Whenever you get it, give it to me.
Excuse me, Your Honor,
Okay,
she's lying.
shh. Now.
My
speak now.
apologies.
Fine. So she said, whenever you have it, you'll give it to me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and you said?
I did give it to her whenever I had it. I paid her a couple payments, and she said, do you want a receipt? And I said, no, I didn't need a receipt. We were friends.
How much did you give her?
A total of $500.
Show me.
I can't. I marked it on my calendar, just that I paid her.
Let me see the calendar.
Okay.
And make sure it's a calendar that I'm not going to find suspect.
I gave her receipts for every time she gave me cash, Your Honor.
No, you did not.
Shh, don't fight with each other. I don't understand what figures are you telling me I should be looking for here?
Just June and July in the red. Says
June
paid.
and July is a couple of dollars, $40, $20,
Right.
$20, $50, maybe
Right.
$200.
Right, correct.
Where's the 500?
Well, that's like 200, and I gave her 2 more hundred.
Well, show me where.
Well, I don't have the calendar. She has it.
She says you gave her $179, so you giving me a calendar, you say you gave her $200. Okay, that's $2,000 left. What happened to the rest of the money?
Well, I was paying her, and also when I first met her, she didn't want me to go back to work after the first bar I worked at closed. She said, just be my personal assistant and I'll pay you, And we traded. I drove her around, I introduced everybody I know, did things for her. whatever she asked, I do. But I still was paying her back the money when I had it. I guess in June or July, we went to Austin, Texas together for my mother's birthday, and she charged me for the ticket, which she did not pay for. You know, I don't owe her all this money. And then that's when we probably had our falling out. She just acted weird. I think she wanted a different relationship than I was willing to give.
You owe her $2,000. Now let me hear about your counterclaim, madam.
When she moved out of my mom's house, my mother was asleep, and I wasn't there.
Helped me move on.
I don't want you to speak
Okay.
until I look in your direction or ask you a question.
Okay.
And she had two friends come help her, and she didn't
Were
call.
you there?
No.
Well, then, how are you telling me this?
Well, because the girl that helped her actually told me some things.
That's hearsay.
Right. Well, the things that were missing when she left the house that weren't
Doesn't
hers.
tell me anything.
That weren't hers. They weren't her
Doesn't tell me
items.
anything.
Right. She went through all my pictures, rearranged them all for me. These are all missing pictures when I didn't even know her.
You have to have proof, madam.
Right. And you know what? She's taken any proof that I have. She's
Well,
taken
then I
the
can't help
pictures.
you. I can't help you. Give her back her suitcase, please.
Okay.
Yeah, it's her suitcase.
Yes, it
Miss
is.
Donor said that that's your suitcase. Is this your suitcase?
Right, and I do have
Bless her.
receipts from that one. That's the only thing I have receipts from, because she took all the receipts when she took the items, if I had any. I know I can't prove it.
So if you can't prove it, then don't waste my time with it. There's your suitcase. It's a very nice piece of luggage. You owe the plaintiff $2,000. Pay it. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that she's in love with me.
My boyfriend would be shocked to understand that I had, quote unquote, supposedly likings for her.
Just a few of her actions, you know, she was a little too friendly.
She doesn't know the truth if it would come up and bite her in the butt.
She'd do anything to make herself look good.
Crystal meth makes you do stupid things, and as you can see, the defendant is still using.
I think she got obsessive.
Shelley's a drug addict. She has been, and she always will be.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Osborne versus Lacey. Step forward, please.
Truck driver Charles Osborne is suing his former friend, writer Michael Lacey, for injuries due to a car accident. Charles says he was a backseat passenger when Michael choked on coffee and drove his car off the road.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes, ma'am.
You were a passenger in a car that was being driven by Mr. Lacey, according to your complaint. I don't know where you gentlemen were on your way to, but you're going to tell me you were sitting in the back seat. According to what I read, there was an accident, you were injured, and you want to be compensated for your medical bills, etc., etc., etc. And Mr. Lacey says this was an accident and you weren't wearing your seatbelt and whatever. Take care of your own medical expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing in Mr. Lacey's car?
Mr. Lacey had been commandeered by my business partner, Frank Owen, to drive us to Rushville, to small claims court.
Who had to be in small claims court?
Mr. Owen did.
And what happened, sir?
We were eastbound on Route 52, and Mr. Lacey had just passed a car doing about 58, 60 miles an hour. And he had taken a drink of coffee at the time, and when he did, he choked on the coffee. He held the accelerator to the floor. We went off to the side of the road. Frank was in the front seat. He tried to grab the wheel to hold it on the road. And I had pulled my seatbelt off quick and tried to jump over the seat to grab the wheel. But at that time, when we went off the road, and the car ended up going over some ravines and went catty-corner into a telephone pole, which hit like the rear door. And I slammed the door and knocked the power window buttons out of the door, broke the window out of my head. And the next time I did, we finally stopped dead, and the airbag went off, and Mr. Lacey turned around to me and he said, "I believe we were in an automobile accident."
I believe you were right. Can I see those pictures? I'm anxious to see.
Sure.
So I assume that
It's the same paper, so
It's the same paper.
okay.
Can't believe I'm going to get paid for reading the paper. So this says that both passengers, both you and Mr. Owen, were taken to the hospital. Is that right?
Yes.
What were the extent of your injuries?
I had a collapsed lung, and I still have the problem. I can move my head over this far on the left, and I can come all the way over on the right, but I still can't move it completely right.
Well, what would you have to move it all the way over for? What
Well,
particular
I
exercise?
probably wouldn't unless I was looking at...
I'm just curious.
Wait. Doctor, it hurts when I do this.
No, I
Don't
know.
do that.
No, I'm just curious. What is it in your life, in your work or social life or whatever, that would require you to go all the way over?
I'm a truck driver, and I have to leave my head out the window a lot of times to see the cars.
Well, you go out like this. You don't go down like this, right?
Well, I go like this to
Yeah, you go right just like that. That's enough.
Okay. All right.
Seems to me that's enough.
Okay.
So you don't have any long-term disability. You had some short-term problems. Let me see that medical bills, please.
Okay.
And what the doctor had to say about you.
Have an ambulance bill and a hospital bill and a doctor bill.
Okay.
But the one's gone into collection, so they're all together, same dates.
Okay, Mr. Lacey, why shouldn't you be responsible for this? Didn't you have insurance?
I did not have insurance. It had lapsed.
Oh, Mr. Lacey, that's a big problem for you, sir.
Yes, I realize that, Your Honor.
Well, then why don't you think that you personally should be responsible for this? You were at fault in this accident.
I was at fault in the accident, but the plaintiff here says that he was injured and he was out of the car walking around when I regained consciousness from the airbag and did not exhibit any signs of trauma until the ambulance arrived. And then when the ambulance did arrive, he immediately went into a convulsed state and, made it sound like there was something wrong. And the rest of us were all walking around. He had been walking around.
Well, Mr. Owen was taken to the hospital, sir.
Mr. Owen was not taken to the hospital.
According to this, he was.
He was not.
Well, he was. And you're responsible. And if he wanted to go and get himself checked out, that's his prerogative. Mr. Osborne, you're suing for $5,000, sir. Why?
The hospital bills were $2,100.
Correct.
I was off work for 3 weeks, and I'm a percentage driver. I'm paid average about $820 a week.
Well, you have to show me something that indicates to me, sir, that you received medical treatment during the course of those 3 weeks, and the reason that you were out of work for 3 weeks was as a result of your injuries. Do you have medical records?
No, I don't. I didn't go see the doctor afterwards.
Well, that's unfortunate, sir. If I were out of work for 3 weeks, I would go see a doctor. You want to say anything?
Yes, I will, Your Honor. After leaving the hospital, Mr. Osborne walked to a nearby Pizza Hut to smoke a cigarette and drink a pop.
Did you do that, Mr. Osborne?
Yes, I did.
With a collapsed lung?
I didn't walk like I was jogging the 500, but I made it over there.
I mean, what you're telling me, with a collapsed lung, you went over, you had a drink and a cigarette.
I tried to have the cigarette. I had to drive.
All right. Mr. Lacey, you are responsible minimally for his medical bills. Do you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise was an accident, and I don't think there was anything irresponsible other than the fact that perhaps you were drinking a cup of coffee and you choked on it. Maybe you should just concentrate on your driving. So you are responsible for his medical bills, not $5,000 for his being out of work, for his being uncomfortable, for whatever else. I don't have any proof of that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. Thank you. That's all.
He told me to have him mail the bills there, that he would settle up with them.
Mr. Osborne did have legitimate medical bills.
He doesn't have enough money to afford his alcoholism. You have to pay that, so...
Well, I do know that he has a drug habit.
Well, he's going to say what he wants to say, so I'll just let him say it.
Assistant Director of Human Resources, Naheed McGowan, is suing hair salon owner Manouk Kasabian for damaging her hair and scalp during a Japanese hair straightening process. Naheed also claims Manouk is guilty of sexual misconduct.
He kind of sit next to me and he was playing with some slime. And I'm like, what is that? He said, Daisy busted the ball. I said, give me that ball. And it was my breast implant.
You kept your old breast implants.
Absolutely.
Why?
Why not? I mean...
This is Judy Justice. Naomi Jackson is suing her former roommate, Gianna Rodriguez, for property damage caused by Gianna's 5-year-old son.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3083, Jackson versus Rodriguez.
Thank you. Miss Jackson, you have your own home?
I do.
You own the home or rent it?
I own it.
You have a mortgage?
No.
You and the defendant met, you became friends, and you invited her and her 5-year-old child, who she shares custody with father, to live with you and share expenses.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
She was a tenant of mine. That's how we met. That was 2 years ago, back in 22. And it was her boyfriend that I rented to. Okay, about
Does not get far afield.
She wanted to move out of where she was living because school's got to start. And I said, well, why don't you come live with me? I have a 6-bedroom house. I live by myself. So I said, well, why don't you come live with me? So spur of the moment.
When did she come to live with you?
2022, January, February?
No, it was...
In 2022, the beginning of 2022?
23, sorry.
23?
Yes. 22 when she was a tenant.
23, she came to live with you?
With me, correct.
And where are you living now?
I now live with my cousin somewhere else.
Since when?
Since June.
Is that when you had this disagreement?
Yeah, when we got into the argument.
Okay, and this is what you got into an argument about. Now, Ms. Jackson, it is your claim that the defendant's 5-year-old, who she was not supervising adequately, got into your bedroom, and in your closet you kept your old breast implants, ones that you had removed because you got different ones.
Correct.
And you kept them for no particular reason, you weren't using them again. It's a sentimental reason that you kept the breast implants. And it is your claim that her son got into the room, got into the box where you kept them, took it and was playing with it with the dog, and they were destroyed.
Correct.
Okay, and you want her to pay for the breast implants?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because why not? I mean, they were my breast implants. Those are my property.
Yeah. How much did you pay for them?
The time when I did that surgery,
yes,
I paid $3,500. But I paid
just
my surgery to get them taken out. I paid $4,000.
No, but
the new one put in.
I'm just talking. I don't care taking them out. That has no relevance to this whatsoever. So you paid $3,500 for them. When? What year?
I did them back in 2000. Those silicone I did back in 2012.
Okay. So now they're teenagers.
Who's teenagers?
Oh, breast implants.
Yes. No, I had it for 7 years.
So you replaced them after 7 years. So you replaced them in 2019.
Yes, the current ones I have now. I got those taken out. Just 2019.
So you replaced them in 2019.
Yes.
And you want the original cost of them.
Sure.
Okay. Well, you don't get that. Now, you want to tell me this incident happened in June. Let's just be quick about it, please, because I have other things to do today. You heard some noise.
You said the original cost.
You heard.
It's not like the value of them went down. If anything, it's higher to get them replaced, the silicone implant.
Sound ridiculous. It was in June of this year that this incident occurred?
It happened in May.
23.
Okay. And you heard some noise, and when you looked outside, when you looked in the house, you found her son playing with your dog?
I was sitting down watching TV.
And?
Behind me, her son was playing with the dog. He kind of sit next to me, and he was playing with some slime. And I'm like, what is that? I didn't want it on the couch. So I said, what is that? He said, Daisy busted the ball. I said, give me that ball, because like I said, I didn't want it all over the place, all over the couch. And it was my breast implant.
Okay. And where had they been?
They were in my closet in a medical sealed bag.
Okay. Now, did Miss Jackson tell you about what happened that day?
No, she never once, Your Honor, mentioned that she had silicones in a bag. Not to mention that they were in a closet, reachable for a 5-year-old child to get to.
My closet.
Plus,
my closet.
No, and plus my dog is there too. Not to mention, if they busted, something could have happened to him.
That's a shoulda, woulda, coulda. There isn't a question, Miss Rodriguez, in your mind that due to your 5-year-old's actions, she lost a piece of her property.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so now we have to put a value on that piece of property, which is not $3,500. So you kept these breast implants, which you cannot use again because they can't be used again. You kept them for sentimental reasons.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and they can't be replaced for sentimental reasons. Once they're gone, correct? Once they're gone, they're gone. I mean, if sentimental, you can't reuse them, you can't resell them. They are of no...
I mean, I could probably reuse them if I wanted to.
Oh, I don't think you can.
And later today,
Mr. Drake says that you were friends. You describe him as a Sancho.
A Sancho.
What is that?
I guess people call it friends with benefits nowadays.
So are you suggesting that he had benefits?
Oh, yeah.
Naomi Jackson is accusing her former roommate, Gianna Rodriguez, of refusing to pay for her old breast implants after Gianna's 5-year-old son destroyed them.
Now, you can't reuse them. You can't sell them. You can't turn them back to the manufacturer.
But I paid for them.
I understand that you paid for them. Let's say you had a car and the car was unusable, but you had gotten it from a parent, from an old boyfriend, from somebody, so you kept it in the garage. It couldn't be sold, it couldn't be driven, you kept it because you liked to look at it. And let's say her son, instead of your breast implants, got into the car and got bubblegum on the seat. Now, is he going to pay for the car? It's unusable, it's undrivable, it's incapable of being traded, negotiated for anything. It may have sentimental reason for you, but it has no extrinsic value to anybody else. So what do you think you're entitled to for losing?
It has value to everything else, but it has value to me, and it cost me money to get it. So I don't agree with just like...
Very good.
So just let it
Very
go.
good. Your son should not have destroyed her property. Do you understand?
Correct.
Whether it was negligence on your part for not watching the 5-year-old, I don't know. You don't keep an eye on a 5-year-old all the time. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1. Thank you very much. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
$1? I paid $4,000 for my breast implants. $1.
I am happy today. I am thankful that it was in my favor for the dollar.
So I can go bust people's implants and don't have to pay for it?
I'm pretty sure it was silicone, and that's toxic. It's poisonous. So I'm just thankful that my dog and my child wasn't harmed.
I'm very upset.
Well, she was pretty upset.
$1 for my breast implants. I paid $4,000. I'm very angry.
If you left them in the closet, it's like a pair of shoes in the closet. They're just sitting there waiting to be played with.
Ridiculous.
All right.
Would pay her half. She forced me into this. I don't want to live there, Your Honor.
Well, who cares whether you want to live there or not?
There's a lot more into this than you think.
She moved out. Grow up.
This is Judy Justice. Bailiff Cassandra Britt is standing in for Bailiff Kevin Roscoe, and Law Clerk Alexi Menser is sitting in for Law Clerk Sarah Rose. Kensington Sears is suing his ex-girlfriend, Whitney Clark, for the remainder of rent money and a corgi dog.
Court, come to order. All rise. Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 3067, Sears versus Clark.
Thank you. Mr. Sears, you and the defendant were in a relationship, and from what I gather from your papers, you entered into a one-year lease to live together.
Yes, Your Honor.
Defendant moved out prior to the termination of the lease. You want her to be responsible for the remainder of the lease from the time she moved out until the termination of the lease. That's your first cause of action. Second one is that you claim that as a result of self-help, the defendant came in and helped herself to your dog.
Yes, Your Honor.
Defendant says it's her dog. Her defense to your action is that she was forced to move out because of your violent behavior. The dog is hers. She paid for the dog. And she's countersuing because she says that there was a loan that she made to you a while ago, which she'll tell me about. And you kept some uniforms that belonged to her from National Guard. She wants those returned, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Why don't you tell me, Mr. Sears, when did you and the defendant start to date?
We started dating March 6th of 2020.
How did you meet?
We met on Facebook dating. We moved in together in June of 2020.
You lived in the same town?
Yes, Your Honor.
When you moved in together, were you working?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
And you?
Yes,
working?
Your Honor.
Your agreement was to split expenses on this apartment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
What was the rent?
The first move-in, our rent was just $350.
Just a second. You mean you moved into more than one apartment together?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm talking about the apartment. Let's move forward. You lived in June of 2020 in one residence. Did you subsequently move into the residence that is the subject of this lawsuit?
Yes, Your Honor.
On what date was that?
January of this year, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Clark, when you lived in prior residences with the plaintiff, you were also employed?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you split expenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And that was the same arrangement for this apartment?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're both on the lease of this apartment?
Yes, Your Honor.
What was the rent?
It's $850, Your Honor.
Now, there came a time after you moved into the apartment that you made a suggestion about inviting in another roommate.
Your Honor, that was true. However...
Wait, just a second. That's true. Well, let's start with there.
Okay.
In what month did you want to bring in another roommate?
It was the early February, had to have been.
And who was that other roommate?
My best friend's girlfriend and her daughter.
They move in with you, the two of them?
They eventually moved in for temporary.
Just a second. Did they move in with you?
They did not sign a lease.
I didn't ask you.
Yes, they
Let's
moved.
not
They
be
moved
tricky
in,
with
Your
me.
Honor.
Did
Yes,
they move
Your
in?
Honor. Yes, they did, Your Honor.
On what date?
Would have been the end of February, Your Honor.
So two of them moved in. Were they paying rent?
They were paying rent at the beginning, yes, Your Honor.
How much?
There was an agreement for $600.
Just a second. And when was the first check made out for rent? Was that February or March?
It would have been late March, Your Honor.
So she's paying half the rent.
Yes.
To you?
No.
To whom?
To the landlord, Your Honor.
So what are you doing here? The rent is $800. She's paying $400. You're paying $400.
She's not staying there the remainder of the lease. She's not on the lease, Your Honor.
I don't care if she's on the lease or not. She pays directly to the landlord. What does that have to do with whether or not you're out any money?
Correct, Your Honor.
So what are you doing here about money? You're not going to get any money from her.
Your Honor.
You're whole. Listen to me. You're whole. You know you're slippery.
My apologies, Your Honor.
I just get the sense you're slippery.
I try not to be, Your Honor.
Now, I don't care what happened between the two of you. You brought in another roommate. You're still there. You want her to pay her half of the rent. Pay attention. Slippery, pay attention.
Okay.
What you're suggesting to me is on an $800 a month rent. You were supposed to split the rent. She moved out. You have somebody who's living in the house now who is the daughter of the mother of your best friend's girlfriend who is paying you $400 a month. So if I award you from the time she moved out until the remainder of the lease, you come out ahead.
No, I won't, Your Honor.
You come out ahead. You have no rent.
I had to pay all the deposits all over again.
Just a second. You have no rent.
I don't want to live there, Your Honor.
You don't want to live there?
No, Your Honor.
Well, who cares whether you want to live there or not?
She forced me into this and then made me pay the deposits all over again.
Just a second. Forced you into what?
A whole new lease. Well, I was already in a lease, Your Honor.
You mean you're talking about the apartment you just moved into? The apartment that we're here about?
Yes, but Your Honor, I was living at a place I was happy with before this.
Oh, who cares? Mr. Sears, grow up. Grow up. Let's talk about the dog.
Am I allowed to ask a question about his, what he's stating?
You're not allowed to ask a question about it. The only one who asks questions here is me.
Okay.
Did you hear anything that isn't correct? Is the dog at her mother's house? That's a yes or a no.
Kensington Sears claims his ex-girlfriend, Whitney Clark, wrongfully moved out and took his corgi. Whitney is countersuing for an unpaid loan.
When was the dog purchased?
May 25th, Your Honor. And
Of
I
what
have the
year?
invoice right here.
Just a second. May 25th of what year?
This year, Your Honor.
2023.
And if you notice, the invoice is in my name, Your Honor.
I don't care if the invoice is in your name.
Okay.
Is the dog purchased from whom?
I purchased the
No,
dog.
just a second. That's not, my answer slippery. I said, who was the dog purchased from? Not I purchased the dog. Who was the dog purchased from?
A breeder in Texas, Your Honor.
Okay. And you don't live in Texas, do you?
No, Your Honor.
Where do you live?
I live in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
How did the dog get to you?
We drove all the way to Texas to get the dog, Your Honor.
So I assume that this is a purebred corgi.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You have a photograph of the dog?
I don't have a photo on
I'd like to see it. Oh, pretty dog. You know who had corgis?
Queen Elizabeth, Your Honor.
She did. It was her breed of choice. Was the dog registered?
Yes, Your Honor.
In whose name?
Both of ours, Your Honor.
Can I see?
I have it on my phone, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it. You have the registration?
No, Your Honor, she did the
Just-
registration online
I'd like to see it.
after the purchase. Your Honor, while they're looking back at that, can I say one more thing about the rent? I have evidence that state that she said that she would pay her half.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, so the dog is jointly owned by both of you. Yeah, would you want to send this up to him?
Your Honor, that registration's done online after the fact. Anybody can do the registration. Anybody.
Mr. Sears, that's absolutely true. You didn't, did you?
I did not.
Shh. You didn't, did you?
No.
And it would seem to me, Mr. Sears, that if she was trying to make her case that the dog belonged to her, she wouldn't have put your name down as the owner.
I have evidence that says that she didn't want the dog.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
She didn't want to take care of the dog. As a matter of fact.
Just a second. I don't know what date this was, but this suggests that she was upset because the dog chewed up something.
She tore up the carpet. And I got videos and evidence showing where I took the dog around town. I took her to campus to meet students. I took her to my friend's job. We were running around with the dog every day. We were with that dog. She never once took care of that dog.
What I'm telling you, sir, is that you had the dog for 5 weeks, the two of you together.
Yes, Your Honor.
5 weeks. Not a long time. It's almost like the time that you might spend fostering a dog. So nobody developed a years-long attachment to this animal, or 2 years, or 3 years. You got the dog at the end of March, and you had the dog the month of April.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right? And May, you had a big fight, and she left. The beginning of May 3rd.
Yeah.
So the dog wasn't with either one of you all that long. Okay. Where is the dog now?
She is at my mom's house, Your Honor.
What's she doing at your mother's house?
She's
Be very, very careful with me. She's at your mother's house. Where are you living?
I am living between my brother's house and my mom's.
How long has the dog, I think the dog's name is Cookie?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long has Cookie been staying at your mother's house? And I'm going to call her if I don't get an answer that I like. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your
She
Honor.
won't know what the call's about.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long has the dog been living at your mother's house?
Since May, Your Honor.
And he's in the apartment?
Yes, Your Honor.
He's getting the dog back. Do you understand?
Yes, Your
He's
Honor.
getting the dog back. Where do you come from?
Stillwater, Oklahoma, Your Honor.
Oklahoma. Yeah. And you want to go back there, right?
Yes.
You want to go back there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Well,
Can I add something?
you're going.
Am I allowed to say something, Your Honor?
I don't need you.
Okay.
I mean, if you had the dog living with you, then I'd have a discussion. But clearly, Mr. Sears is correct, at least about one thing, and that is that you were unable to take care of this dog because from the time you moved out, you gave the dog to your mother, and you move around. I don't know who you're living with.
Am I allowed to ask a question about his, what he's stating?
You're not allowed to ask a question about it. The only one who asks questions here is me.
Okay.
Did you hear anything that isn't correct? Is the dog at her mother's house? That's a yes or a no.
I'm talking about what he's suing her for. I thought he was suing her for $800.
He's not suing her for anything. I dismissed that part of his claim. He's not getting rent. Pay attention. Don't have a story fixed in your head.
No, $800 for the dog. He didn't want the dog. He wanted money for the dog.
No, he's not getting money for the dog.
I don't want money for the dog.
He's not getting money
Your
for
Honor.
the dog.
Okay.
Pay attention. Okay. By the way, you have family in Oklahoma?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Who?
My mother lives in Enid. My sister lives in Perry. My brother.
How far away does your mother live from her mother?
Roughly an hour and 30 minutes or so.
Does your mother like the dog?
My mother loves the dog.
Okay. When you leave today, you're going to call your mother, and your mother is going to make arrangements to meet halfway, to meet his mother, and your mother is going to transfer the dog to his mother so that when he gets home, he gets the dog. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
As soon as that happens, you get your airplane ticket and your appearance fee. Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You say that you've made a loan to Mr. Sears. In what month and year did you make this alleged loan? If you have to think about it, you have no case. But I'll let you think about it for a second because it's your counterclaim. You should have these answers right at the tip of your fingers.
Kensington Sears has accused his ex-girlfriend, Whitney Clark, of taking his corgi and leaving him with the balance of their lease payments. Whitney claims Kensington owes for an unpaid loan.
So, Mr. Sears,
Yes.
you don't get your money because you're whole. You have a tenant. Tenant is paying half the rent. You're paying half the rent. Not fair for you to live alone and not pay any rent. So you have to pay rent. But you're going to get your dog back. Now, we have a counterclaim. You say that you've made a loan to Mr. Sears. In what month and year did you make this alleged loan? If you have to think about it, you have no case. But I'll let you think about it for a second because it's your counterclaim. You should have these answers right at the tip of your fingers.
I believe it was in December of 2021, Your Honor.
For what?
It was for a car loan.
Between December of 2021 and May 3rd, 2023, did Mr. Sears make any payments on this alleged loan?
I believe he made one, Your Honor.
You do? Well, when did he make one?
I'm not exactly sure, Your Honor.
Well, that's what happens when you make a loan. You keep a record. You make a loan how much it was. You make a loan what the payments were. How do you expect me to figure it out?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
I'm not sure either. Now, how much was the alleged loan for? Now, you're looking up here. You're looking over there. That suggests to me you don't know exactly what it was for.
I believe it was $2,000, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
I didn't ask you a question.
All right.
Don't interrupt my train of thought. I'm an old person. I need all the help I can get. And being interrupted doesn't help me. I lose my train of thought.
Absolutely. Your Honor.
Then nobody will follow me, and then we won't have a show. Okay. Ms. Clark, I want to explain something to you. I've read your answer, and I've read your counterclaim. Your counterclaim said that the loan was $3,000. Here you say, well, I believe it was $2,000. It happened 2 years ago. Did he make any payments? I don't know. I think I made one. So what you need in order to have a loan, which is a contract, is a finite amount. What is the loan? Which you don't know. What is the payments? I don't know. How do you expect a court to figure out your loosey-goosey finances? That's not our job. If you make a loan to somebody, you have to have an amount of money and a payment schedule.
Your Honor, I do have the payments. The payments were $210.
So did he make payments?
No, Your Honor.
Oh, and did you enforce the payments over 2 years?
Yes, Your Honor.
How did you do that? Did you take him to court? Did you sue him in small claims court? What did you do?
Well, we made an agreement for him to pay for the car because he told me he was buying the car for me.
Can you ask?
Oh, just shh. Sears, so far you're ahead of the game with the dog. I wouldn't say anything else if I were you until I ask you a question.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
So you drove the car?
We both did, Your Honor.
Well, you just said to me, he said he was buying the car for you. How many cars did the two of you have when you were living together?
2, Your Honor.
What make of cars? I was going to say what brand, but it's not a brand, it's a make. What make of cars?
It was a Dodge Stratus and
So who drove the Dodge?
I did.
And is that the car in question?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. And for how long did you drive that car?
About a year, Your Honor.
Who paid for the car?
I did, Your Honor.
You made the monthly payments?
Yes, Your Honor. I have this bank statement right here.
Is that correct, Mr. Sears?
Yes, actually it is, but there's a lot more into this than you think. That was actually a title loan on my truck to get her the car. She's making payments
Where is
to a
the
loan
car?
company.
Just a second, where's the car now?
On the side of the highway, blew the rod on it.
Who did?
I was driving when it happened.
Okay. I had enough of you both. You have to move on with your lives, children. You get your dog back.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And I told you how that's going to happen within the next half hour. Get in the back and make it happen. Are you happy now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you happy now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Be happy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We're done.
Case is now closed. Court is adjourned.
I don't believe it's fair that he should keep the dog because I did pay for her and I sent him the money to pay for her, so it's kind of hard to explain.
I am ecstatic to get the dog back. That's all. That's the main thing that we were here for. It's one thing we really wanted. We just wanted to bring Cookie home.
It was because she was tearing up the apartment and I was afraid that we were going to have to pay for the damages, but what I really wanted was just get out of there and have her with me.
She was doing it out of spite. She was mad about the argument that ensued. She wasn't happy with the outcome, so she did everything she could to attack me.
Because I felt like he was abusive and possessive.
She was mad. She come home late one night and her classmates had an assignment saying that she wasn't doing her part and she took it out on the wrong person.
It's been going on the whole time we were together, but it was really bad when we moved into her since March.
Oh, we're done. I'm so happy. I'm actually with a new woman now. She treats me right and I couldn't be happier.
I hope I don't have to see him again.
Cookies coming home. That's great.
My takeaways, it's a classic duty to mitigate windfall case. She came into this lease in February, broke it in May, and the plaintiff may not like what she did, may have been annoying, but for that remaining time, he found someone else to replace her. And if you have that money, it doesn't matter to him what source it's coming from, he's made whole, and the court's not going to step in and give him a windfall.
Right. Smart. So smart to go to law school.